Baby, sitting only 2 or 3 shots. I'ma show you how to take it up a notch. Yeah. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and I dive in it. Pool full of liquor and I dive in it. I'll wave a few bottles and watch them all pop. Yes, Belladonna's gonna show them what you got. That's right. I got a swimming pool full of liquor and I dive.
I played with a lot of bands in DC, you know, just I was the type of musician that if someone was calling for a gig, I'm playing. You know, I would rehearse, I would learn their material. And, you know, back in the 90s, jazz and contemporary jazz was really popular. You know, I had my own group called Confirmation, as a matter of fact. It was a jazz group, and that consists of a guitar player named Stan Cooper, Lorenzo Sands, he played bass. Eric Valentine played drums with me. And a few others, and we would just play locally, different venues, Zanzibar's. There was a strip at the wharf where there was a lot of, you know, restaurants that we would play there. I enjoyed being a female artist in bands, especially the only one, because, you know, you get a lot of attention that way. You get all the attention, you know, the guys, they're real courteous. Oh, let me get that for you. You know, I carry your keyboard or this and this and that, you know. But then sometimes I didn't like too much attention because I just wanted to be like the cats. I just wanted to be like the boys. So sometimes instead of me dressing very provocative or sexy, I would just dress like the guys. If they had on jeans and hoodies, I dressed like them because I didn't want to be different. I wanted them to respect me for being a musician and not just because I'm a girl. I never wanted people to say, oh, she's just in that band because she's a girl, you know. Which sometimes that can be an asset, that can, you know, that can work in your favor. But, you know, I just want it to be where you close your eyes, you can't tell if I'm a guy or a girl.
What genre did you start off playing?
It's classical. I started playing classical music when I was 5, 6 years old. And my mom and dad, they enrolled me in piano lessons, and I hated piano lessons. I mean, what kid wants to play piano and take lessons? You know, I just had a gift. I had an ear where I could just listen to songs off the radio. Or it could be cartoons. Believe it or not, I don't know if I should say this, but one of my inspirations was Bugs Bunny, because he would play the piano and he would wear a tuxedo and he would have tails and he would sit at the piano and he would just be very elegant and he would say, I wish my brother George was here. And he would sit here and go, da-da-ba-dum, da-da-da-dum, ba-boom, ba-ba-ba-da-dum, da-dum. And so I was like, I want to do that. I want to play. It was called the Hungarian Rhapsody. And I told my piano teacher, I want to play that song, you know. And she was like, you know, that Franz Liszt, it's a very complicated piece. And it was way above my level. I'm like 6 years old. And I said, I want to play that. And I learned it the way he played it, the way Bugs Bunny played it. But when you read the actual music or the chart, it's a lot. You know, it was just too advanced for me, but I was determined. And I didn't care what she said, but I played it my way. And so then after that, I just, you know, really enjoyed practicing because I just wanted to play that song. The first time I played Gogo was actually my first time attending a Gogo. I mean, I've never went to a Go-Go. My parents, I lived a sheltered life. My parents didn't let me go to Go-Go's. And as a teenager, all of my friends, they would go to Go-Go Live and they would come back and have pictures and have their outfits. And I'm just, you know, like, you know, I hear the stories and I could hear the boom boxes where they had their tapes and the guys walking the halls like, yeah. And I'm like, you know, okay, I couldn't go. But I had my opportunity at the Go-Go, Tacoma Station, Bailey's, Club U, with Maisha and the Hip Huggers, Sugar Bear, Juju, Mighty Mo, Junie. You know, that was my first time playing and attending a Go-Go, and I loved it. You know, I've always listened to Go-Go. I've always heard Go-Go on the radio. You know, Chuck Brown was always on the radio. Trouble Funk, Junkyard, Red Essence. They were Reds and the Boys, Lil Benny. They were always on the radio. It was just natural. I played with a few Go-Go bands. I played with many. For starters, Maisha and the Hip Huggers, Sugar Bear and EU. Then Chuck Brown, of course, I played with him for 12 years until he had passed. And in between, I played with some other bands. I played with Subtle Thoughts. I played with Rare Essence, just as a sub. I played with Familiar Faces. It's cool. It's cool to be called upon. You know, that lets you know that you're good. You know, that, you know, you're no slouch, because they're not going to call you, you know, if you're slumming or anything. So
Right.
I felt good that, oh yeah, I arrived. They accept me as a player, not just being a girl. And of course, my band Belladonna, you know, that's an all-female band.
Right.
You know, after Chuck had passed, got together a band, Belladonna, and we've been playing for about 12, 13 years now.
Whose idea was that to put Belladonna together?
The person that put Belladonna together, for real, was Shannon, our drummer. And what happened was, I played in another all-female band called Lady Rhythm. And our drummer, she couldn't make it to a show. It was for the barbecue battle. And Karis, she at the time she played percussion, but now she's Belladonna's talker. She told me, I have a friend named Shannon who can play. She's a young girl, and I said, okay. So I gave Shannon a tape or a CD of a performance of ours, and she learned it. I don't even think we had a rehearsal. She just came in there and just whipped it, you know, and I was like, ooh. So we became great friends after that. And then we went to Atlanta, and Miriam, our lead singer at the time, she had a gig. It was for a women's convention, and she hired me, Shannon, Kendra, and a few other girls, and we went down to Atlanta, and we had a ball. We played, and so Shannon came to me and she says, oh, we just can't stop doing this. We have to continue this. And I said, you know what, you're right. But at the same token, I was kind of reluctant about doing another all-female band. Because I really liked playing with the guys, and the girls, it was cool, but you know, she convinced me, she pulled my leg, and so I said, okay. And so I searched around, found some players, and there you go. There you have it. Now, back to Miriam. When I first met Miriam, I was performing with Pieces of a Dream at this hotel. I think it was the Renaissance Hotel, and this was years ago, like in the 90s or something. And I heard this singer, she had on I remember vividly, she had on a red jumper, and she had golden hair. And I was like, who is that singer? She sounded like Minnie Riperton. I mean, she hit the high notes and Loving You. And when she hits the note, she's like smiling like that. Like, it's just so effortless. So, and she was performing with Subtle Thoughts. And back then, Subtle Thoughts was not a go-go band.
No.
In fact, I played with Subtle Thoughts when they were a jazz band, and we played at Tacoma Station. I even had a Subtle Thoughts t-shirt. It was a black, and it had white Subtle Thoughts on it. And Walker Reds played, Brian Mills.
Mike Baker
on bass. He plays with Rare Essence.
Right. Sticks Marshall.
Sticks Marshall was the drummer at the time. And I remember, look, I'm telling y'all's business, but I remember Sticks didn't want the band to go in a go-go direction. However, and Wendell Bacon played the guitar.
Wendell. I forgot about Melly Yella.
He didn't want the band to go in the direction of go-go for whatever reasons. But, you know, DC, they love go-go. And I don't think that Subtle was trying to go in the direction of go-go per se. It's just that pocket is just what people in DC are accustomed to, and they love it. And it was a great idea because the band was a jazz band. It was instrumental. And right now, if they had continued in that direction, I think they would have really stood apart from everyone else, because everybody now, they're redoing or remaking covers and playing a go-go beat underneath it. But just to have a jazz band with a pocket, you know, that's really cool. I remember going to the Carter Barron, and I had about 5 albums. Back then we had albums, and I brought them with me at the Carter Barron to see Pieces of a Dream. They were my favorite group. They were a jazz trio from Philadelphia. They had hits like 454 and Mount Airy Groove. And, you know, warm weather. I like the warm weather, you know. And I love them because James Lloyd, the piano player, he is a beast. He's a monster. And in fact, I played one of their songs during my senior recital at Duke Ellington. So anyway, I had all my albums, and I managed to get backstage because being a local jazz musician around the area, a lot of the sound guys or backstage crew, they were familiar with me, so they let me go backstage. And so I went backstage, and I was just so elated, and I said, hey James, I said, could you mind signing my albums? And he was like, wow, you have like all of them, you know. I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm a fan, and I learned all of your solos. I mean, verbatim, I learned every single solo that he played, you know. He's like a George Duke / Herbie Hancock to me, you know. I think he's very underrated at the time, but, you know, he's getting his just due now. And he signed them, and we took pictures, and that just made my day. I was cool with that. And then about a month later, he asked me, was I busy or am I, you know, committed to a group? And I'm like, no. And he asked me to perform with Pieces of a Dream. I was like, yes. I mean, you know, I couldn't turn that down because he's my idol. I was nervous. However, I just took the opportunity. I mean, who would turn that down?
Did he hear you play before he asked you?
No, he's never heard me play or anything. He may have done some homework. You know, people call and say, hey, can she play? You know, or, you know, is she weird? You know, is she a diva? You know, that kind of stuff. That's how I got the gig. I played for numerous national artists. And what I normally do is I tell people to go on my website, www.imsweetcherie.com, because there's a section that has a list of all the people I played with. I played with Howard Hewitt, Nile Rodgers and Chic, Angela Bofield. I played with Melanie Fiona.
How was it playing with Chic? Chic actually was one of my favorite groups back in the day.
Chic was one of my favorite gigs. When I started playing with Chic, that's when the level was just high. You know, it was Nile Rodgers. I mean, he's just incredible. He's a genius. You know, he wrote All Freak Out, Good Times. He also wrote for other artists like I'm Coming Out for Diana Ross. He wrote for Sister Sledge, David Bowie. We played all of those songs in our set. All of the songs that he had played for other people. Madonna, you know, he's responsible for Madonna's music. And playing with him was just incredible. He's a really cool cat too, you know. His status entitles him to be a diva, but he's not. Silver Logan Sharp, she's the person that got me the gig with Nile Rodgers. Being a local artist and performing here, I just happened to be one of those cats that, hey, if you need a keyboard player, hey, call Cherie. And at the time I was playing with Maisha, and Maisha and Silver are buddies. They're good friends. And one day, Maisha had a birthday party at the 501. No, it wasn't the 501. It was a spot. It was some spot that we played in Northeast DC. But Silver had performed at Maisha's birthday party, and she sang a Shaka Khan song, like Tell Me Something Good. And when I saw her come in, she had these long golden braids, and she's tall and skinny and had on some glittery pants or something, and she came in there and was tell me something good, you know, just flopping her hair. And she was just like a huge artist to me. In DC, she's a local artist, but she seemed like a big movie star, like a Mariah Carey or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I said, who is that? She said, that's Silver. And so after that, Silver gave me a call, and I started playing with her group. She had a group called Shades, and we would play at Republic Gardens. We would play in different spots in DC. And then after that, she told Nile about me. He was looking for a keyboard player. Voila. My first time playing with Chic, I wasn't really nervous at all. Maybe a little. But I was prepared. I was very prepared because Silver took me to her home, and we went over the music, you know, and she knows how Nile is. If he's very particular about certain things, she told me straight up, look, I know you're a jazz musician, but he doesn't want those sharp 9 and, those type of chords, flat 13s and things like that. He wants you to play the songs just like the record. Keep it simple, just like the record. He would give me some leeway sometimes, like if I take a solo or something, he would, give me some leeway where I can be myself. But for the main part, when you're playing on pop gigs like that, it's all about playing parts. It's all about pleasing the artist and what they want to hear. And we rehearsed, and I also had to sing background, so she coached me with the background parts, and everything had to be very crisp and precise. Have you heard about the new dance craze? Listen to us. It was, you had to really, articulate things. Listen to us. I'm sure you'll be amazed, And that was a vocal lesson for me, because I would have said, have you heard about the new dance craze? Listen to us. I'm sure you'll be amazed. And she'd be like, oh, no. When you're singing with two other individuals, it has to be very precise and staccato, because we were playing for audiences that were thousands and thousands, tens and 20,000s of people, and your voice has to really stick out to project, so it doesn't sound like it's just all legato and things. But anyway, I was prepared. I was ready, and I didn't even have to rehearse with him. I just went to the rehearsal up at SIR up in New York, and I was on time. That's the first thing. You gotta be on time. When you're performing with artists, you cannot be late. If you're late, I think I was late one time, and I was catching a train at New Carrollton train station, and I just missed it by a minute. That door shut, and I was like, no! Can you open it? And I felt this low. And when you feel that bad, when people are late, you should really care. Sometimes when people show up at gigs or rehearsals, they just walk in like it ain't nothing. You should really care. And, because the person that's giving the hosting the rehearsal, they have to pay for the building. You have to pay for that time. And it just looks bad, just be on time, you can lose a gig just by being late. You could be a phenomenal player, a phenomenal singer, but if you're late all the time, they'll be like, I can't do this, because also with TV, it's all about minutes. Time is money. It's the truth. I was playing with Sugar Bear at Club U, and it was his birthday, and big celebration. He invited Chuck Brown there, and when I saw Chuck walk in, the room just shut down, like woo, and it was an honor and a privilege just to see him in there. And we played, I think we played Gogo Swing. We just vamped on it. We didn't play the whole entire song. We just played around with it, and Chuck, did his thing and rapped, and then he left. So a couple weeks later, I get a call, hey, this Chuck Brown, and I'm like, ooh, oh my God, And long story short, he was like, yeah, how much Sugar Bear paying you? And I said, such and such and such a, well, how about I pay you blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Remember that scene in Harlem Nights where dude calls his wife, hey, tell your mama and your kids off. I'm never coming back home.
Tell the wife and kids.
Sorry, Bear. I love you. I love you so much, Bear. You my dog. But when Chuck Brown calls, you have to stop what you're doing. Chuck Brown is the epitome. He's the father of Gogo. You just can't just say, let me think about it. I'm playing with Sugar Bear, and I'm really good. And I really was good there. I mean, Sugar Bear, we were working. We were gigging 7 nights a week, every single day. And there were some days where we were gigging like 2 and 3 times on a Saturday or Sunday. We were very popular. We were very, very hot. That was a very hot moment, We had a CD out, the Bop Bop and the Bounce. It was very, very hot. That was just a pivotal moment just for Grown and Sexy, and all of the other bands after that had followed. It was a great time. But when Chuck Brown called me, that just raise it a notch for me, for my playing as well. Because like I said, you know, I enjoy the fact that Chuck's, one of his elements is jazz and blues, and that's my heart. I love jazz. And, you know, his music, you know, it just really makes you feel good. He doesn't even have to play a song, really. He can just, we could play that pocket, he can just doo-doo, doo-doo, boo, boo, boo. You know, he could just play a little riff or something and we're like, yeah, you know, yeah. It was just heavenly. And at the time when I played with Chuck, I was also on the road with Pieces of a Dream at the same time. And sometimes those gigs would collide, you know. It's like Chuck was playing Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays, sometimes Sundays. And I may have to go out of town with Pieces, you know, and Chuck money was good too. It was very good. But when you're on the road, you know, it's different because, you know, and on top of that, you get the experience of traveling. You're in the hotels, you're all over the country, and I've been everywhere except for Africa and Australia. You know, Chuck didn't like that. And he fired me, and I was sad. I was very hurt. I was disappointed. I was calling all the guys, what's going on? What's going on? And I think it was because I was, you know, gigging too much on the road. And I understand. Now that I have my own band with Belladonna, and when I have a show and somebody's missing, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I gotta find a sub, I gotta rehearse them, gotta teach them the new parts. It's just too much work. Then he hired me back, you know. I guess he was like, oh, it's cheaper to keep her, you know. And then he fired me again. I was fired twice. Now, if you, I think everybody in the band has been fired except Brian Mills.
Conspiracy.
Brian Mills plays the saxophone. He has his own group, Secret Society. And what's up with that? Teacher's pet.
Right.
But it's all good. So he hired me back, and then he just kept me. And I guess he was like, you know what? The girl's gonna do what she's gonna do. You know, let me tell you something. It's a privilege to play in Chuck Brown's band because he doesn't hire any slouches. Everybody knows that Chuck's band consists of musicians of a high caliber. Yeah, so when you play with Chuck Brown, you know, you have to have this attitude, this image. And so I was very new, so I still had to make sure I had that confidence, you know, not the arrogance of it, but just be very confident because he loved to have confident people around him. You know, that made him stronger as well. He loved Benny and funk. You know, that's one thing I love about Chuck is that he's not intimidated by anybody's talent. You know, some people, they don't want anyone to outshine them. But with Chuck, he's like, come on, you know, and he's happy when people like Sugar Bear or Big Tony or Genghis, when they enter his stage, he's like, come on, it's like a family affair, you know, and plus it gives him the time to just rest and chill. You know, he can just play his guitar and just let y'all do all the work. He's still getting paid. I wish he was still alive because, gosh, it's like, you know, we have so many bands, but when Chuck plays last, it's like, whoo, it's like, you know what I mean? It was a wonderful experience. Belladonna, we performed at La Fontainebleau. It was my birthday, and I asked him if he could just sit in with us, and he said yes. And the girls had an opportunity to play with him, and that's another thing, you know, my girls in Belladonna, I always want them to experience a lot of things that I experienced. You know, I've traveled, and a few of the girls in the band, they have also traveled and played with artists too. You know, two of the girls in my band, they played with Pleasure, and they were on the road with Salt and Pepper and 5-5 and things like that. But, you know, I just want them to experience a lot of things that I have, and to put on your resume as well that you played with Chuck, because you did. You may not have been in his band, but you played with Chuck.
Right.
You did. And he played with us on 2 occasions. Another occasion he played with us, it was on Halloween at La Fontainebleau. But this time, I dressed up like Chuck. That was my costume. I dressed up like Chuck. I went to the thrift store. I got a hat They had a little shirt with a collar and I bought a brown suit. I had some brown cowboy boots, and I had this old cheap guitar or whatever. And I had it wrapped around me, and I was playing. He was on the opposite side, on the side where Claudia plays, and I was on my side. And when the show was over, I gave him a hug and everything, and he was like, he didn't know who I was. He said, Cherie, sweet Cherie. He was like, where were you? I said, I was playing the whole time. He said, oh my God. He thought it was some dude playing keyboards. He kept saying, now why was Cherie? He said the whole time he was performing, he was thinking in his head, why would Cherie have me play up here? And she's not even here. Like, where is she? And I'm like, that was me. I had a mustache, everything, goatee. I had a wig on, like a little curl in the back. I have pictures on my Facebook, and I'm going to have to show you guys. If you go to my Facebook page, Sweet Cherie on keys, or no, Sweet Cherie, Instagram is Sweet Cherie on keys. If you go on my page, you can scroll down. You can see pictures of me posing. I was dressed up as Chuck, and we took pictures together. It was so hilarious. You can reach me on Facebook. I have several pages. Cherie Mitchell Agers, Sweet Cherie. You can hit me up on Instagram, Sweet Cherie on keys. I'm on Twitter, Sweet Cherie on keys. My website is www.iamsweetcherie.com. You can't call me unless, we cool like that. I'm not going to give you my phone number, but I am able to be, and I'm on this other site called LinkedIn. That's Sweet Cherie on keys as well.
So is there anything out there to the Gogo community you would like to say?
I would like to say, y'all keep it cranking. Because she cranks. She cranks.
Y'all heard it first. And
we
will talk to you soon. Peace.
Yeah, very soon. We are going to see Cherie.
Sing it.
Soon, yeah, very soon.
Soon.
We are going to see Cherie.
And cut. Don't worry, I'm
I normally tell people to go on my website, www.
I'll edit it.
Hey, listen, you gotta have B-roll. You gotta keep this
right.
Like after you do the interview, you show all the bloopers. I ain't mad at you for that though.
WWF, yeah.
I'ma show you how to take it up a notch. I got a swimming pool.